My name is Bill Davis. I'm a retired police officer, detective sergeant. I'm also currently employed in the entertainment industry as a licensed weapons specialist, firearms instructor, and technical advisor. A few years ago, I began really paying attention to unfolding events around our planet, and I discovered that we as a species are in a world of hurt. Now, we don't have to worry about zombies or meteor strikes. We have more to fear from our fellow human beings. I began preparing for the inevitable apocalypse that I feel is coming, not just to America, but to the entire world. I've stockpiled food, water, guns, ammunition, gasoline, generators, you name it. And I've done this in an effort to ward off the inevitable shortages that will befall us. And surprisingly, a side effect of this preparation is I now have a lot more peace of mind. Now, I've written several field guides on how to prepare for upcoming events, how to survive, and I've spoken to groups throughout the United States, and the biggest obstacle that I've discovered in communicating my ideas, my visions of what I believe is coming is total apathy. No, not total apathy, but I'd say 70% of the people out there in the world, in America, do not believe that we are going to have fuel shortages, food shortages, water shortages. They don't believe it. They're living in denial. It simply can't happen here. Now, I've been called a doomsayer, depressing, paranoid, you name it. And I really hope that I am wrong. But what if I'm right? What if I am right? We're all just 72 hours away from committing robbery, murder, or theft, or whatever it might take to secure food and water for ourselves and our family. That's right. After 3 days of no food and water, you'll begin to hallucinate. You'll begin to think radiator water out of a vehicle is looking pretty good. Anything to wet your whistle. Anything to survive. Anything to stay alive. Now, I've been through survival training, and I can tell you, after 3 days of no food and no water, murder is not out of the question if it'll get you what you need to live. Now, recent verified news reports show that the Department of Homeland Security has stockpiled 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition. That's billion with a B. They've stockpiled 88,000 ballistic vests, 100,000 cases of meals ready to eat, those military bags that our soldiers get out in the field. There's 12 of those to a case, so that's 1.2 million meals they're stockpiling. And then the one that got me kind of cranked up recently is they just purchased 2,700 light armored vehicles. Now, what are they preparing for? The Senate subcommittees have checked into it and said, why'd you buy that much ammunition? They said, oh, well, we need it for training. Let me put this in perspective for you. 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition is far more ammunition than our entire United States military has fired in both Afghanistan and Iraq combined. So why does one agency need that kind of ammunition stockpile? They claim it's for training. They don't have enough employees to justify that type of ammunition quantity. Now ask yourself, what would they be doing with it if it's not for training? What are they going to do with all that ammunition and the vests and the food and the armored vehicles, not to mention all the machine guns they have and sidearms? What else could they be doing with it? Well, I believe that they are preparing to deal with United States citizens in a violent manner, pursuant to an economic collapse. Now, you might think if you tune into different news stations that our economy is just kind of hanging in there. It's not hanging in there. It's not at all. Look at what's happening. We have cities in America now. Stockton, California, most recently filed for bankruptcy. San Bernardino County getting ready to file for bankruptcy. We have these cities and counties throughout America that are getting ready to file bankruptcy. First time in my life, and I'm 61 years old. So what's going on? Well, when the economy fails, and there's no more food, and there's no more water, and there's no electricity, and there's no cell phones, no television, what are you going to do? What are you as an individual going to do to survive? Department of Homeland Security is going to be fine. They've got all the food and ammunition and water and everything they need. And they're inside an armored vehicle, so you can't do anything to them as they're patrolling your streets. When martial law is declared, we will all fall under the auspices of the United States U.S. Code of Military Justice. All right? Now, what that means is that your constitutional rights, the Constitution is suspended at that point because the military will be patrolling our streets. A curfew will be in effect, probably from dusk till dawn. Meaning, if you're out past dusk, if you break the curfew, you're subject not only to arrest, but you're subject to the reception of lethal force. Now, people who have lived, how many times have you heard of citizens, American citizens going to other countries trying to exercise their constitutional rights? They don't apply in other countries. And once they don't apply here, that's going to be a shock for everybody. You can say to a soldier he's carrying a rifle, hey, I have the right to this and I have the right to that. You don't have the right to anything. Under martial law, you don't have any rights. Simply put, you are a prisoner within the borders of the United States. Now, our economy is like a star that's preparing to go nova. It burns its brightest right before it explodes into a million pieces. Economic collapse, when it comes, and it will come, economic collapse will result in a run on food, water, everything you can think of. There will be no, well, we can't have food at the store, so we'll go out to a restaurant. Not going to happen. Restaurants aren't going to have any employees. They're also not going to have any food. So what are you going to do for food? Think about it. Now, during World War II, Admiral Yamamoto of the Japanese Imperial Navy was quoted as saying, I would never invade the United States mainland because there would be a gun behind every blade of grass. Well, as of April 2nd, 2013, the United States entered into a treaty with the United Nations which limits small arms possession in all the countries that signed the treaty, U.S. included. Now, you might say we have the Second Amendment. Again, this is not a firearms rant, so don't tune me out. The Second Amendment, the First Amendment, any of the amendments, the Constitution, our rights are only what either we are prepared to fight for or what our government is prepared to give us. And if they don't want to give us those rights, if they want to say, well, forget the Second Amendment, we're going to go with the treaty with the United Nations, then that's what we're going to do. What are you going to do about it? Well, I just wanted to point this out to what's happening right under our noses, and people aren't saying or doing anything. I guess they're waiting to see what happens. Well, while we're waiting to see what happens, we're setting ourselves up to lose. Did you know that I've got some notes here, so pardon me for referring to them. Did you know that the United Nations has been trained by our military for the last, several decades, probably 3 or 4 decades? That's right, we've been training foreign troops on American soil, both land troops and air forces. Now, as we speak, as you're watching this, there are United Nations air forces flying training missions, armed training missions over U.S. airspace, over our soil. And they're mapping our country. They've already mapped it. They know more about the geography of America than the average American citizen does because they study it, whereas we take it for granted. Why would they do that? Oh, it's a training mission. People write that off. Remember Department of Homeland Security? Why do you need 1.6 billion rounds? It's for training. That's the catch-all, guys. It's not for training. It's for usage. And don't ever forget that. Now, a questionnaire went out to our military in 1995. And one of the questions on that questionnaire should concern all of us. The question was, and I'll read it to you, would you fire on American citizens if ordered to do so? That went out to everybody in the military below the rank of sergeant down to private. Another questionnaire went out to our military officers in 2012. And the question was, would you issue orders to fire on Americans if ordered to do so? Pretty close to the same question. Now, in 1995, the overwhelming response by the rank and file soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen were, no, we will not do it. We won't fire on our people. We won't fire on American citizens. Interesting. 2012, just the opposite happened. The overwhelming majority of officers in our military said yes, they would order their troops, their subordinates, to fire on American citizens if they themselves were ordered to do so. Now, you be the judge. I'm just relaying this. Don't shoot the messenger. You be the judge. I've prepared my family for virtually every contingency I can think of. It's up to you what you want to do about your situation. But ask yourself this question. What if I'm right? What do you have to lose by preparing? What do you have to lose by, I'm going to go off script here, what do you have to lose by going to your local dollar store, 99-cent store, and gathering up some canned goods, lots of canned goods to feed your family, and put them in boxes, tape them up, and just put them in the garage. Put them somewhere where you're not even going to see them, but they're there. It's an insurance policy against starvation. What's the harm in that? Don't let your ego dictate what you should be doing instead of what other people think you should be doing. Don't listen to them. Don't be politically correct with your life. Be practical. Prepare. Prepare, prepare, prepare. My name's Bill Davis, and I'll be returning with other videos as soon as more pertinent information becomes available. Good luck to all of us.